couple years ago, I had to, it's been actually more than a couple years ago, I had to put together a presentation talking about the advances in the development, the changing face of disease management in peanuts. And I used the Jolly Green Giant, who most people are familiar with, though younger people may not be, is an example of a giant step forward. In 1994, with the release of Folicure, some of you all remember that. 1995 with the release of Abound, azoxystrobin. Those were huge, giant steps forward in management of peanut disease, specifically white mold, also Rhizoctonia limrot, and some degree CBR as well. What I want to say for today is we have a changing face again in disease management in peanut. The class of SDHI, succinate dehydrogenase inhibitors, and that's not easy for me to say. It's not that they're replacing the triazole fungicides, it's not that we're replacing the strobilurin fungicides, but the reason I'm glad every peanut farmer here today is we've got a new class pushing its way onto stage, okay? And we need to know how to use it, when to use it. If you look at the fungicides on the screen, you'll see that there's at least two there, Convoy and Artisan, that are not new. They've been there, they are standards, right? But we have additional fungicides joining them and a nematicide. So my goal in the next 19 minutes is to introduce this to you and tell you how they work and what we need to do with them. So my title has been changed a little bit. Succinate dehydrogenase inhibitors, advance of a third fungicide class. And I consider the triazoles, which includes the standard of Folicure in the past and Provost now, the strobilurins, which would be Headline, Abound, Avito, and now with the SDHI chemistries making their way. What does that mean for you? How's that going to affect your decisions? How's that going to affect your bottom line in 2015 and beyond? Here's what I want you to walk away with. I want you to understand the new products. We have new products or fairly new products in 2015. I want you to know the importance of the SDHI class. Right? It is a strong class and it's a changing class. I want you to understand how they work. I feel it's important. We're not supposed to talk about what we talk at county meetings here. We're supposed to give you something extra. And what I want you to understand is the nuts and bolts of how an SDHI fungicide works. I want you to understand why they're critically important. What happened June 15th of 2014? What happened June 15th?
It stopped raining.
It stopped raining. By the way, the changing face of the peanut team is not always a good thing. Mark, I wish I had the last word, but you have the last word in this session, all right? Mark said it stopped raining. That could be true. But June 15, 2014, if my numbers are correct, azoxystrobin, also known as Abound, became generic. That affects resistance. And I want you to have a better idea of how to deploy your program. As far as soil-borne disease control goes, this is mostly for your white mold, your limrot, your Rhizoctonia. This is what the picture looks like. If you want a simple fungicide program, any chemical or any rep here can tell you the simple is the best one, they've got it for you. Right? But I tell you, as far as growers, we have more and more tools coming. It gets more and more complicated. You have more and more questions on how to best to fix the problems on your farm. But we have three classes. When we talk about soil-borne disease control, we have three classes. The first is the SDHI, FRAC Group 7. FRAC Group means that they're all related. If you've got a FRAC Group 7, they're related to all the 7s. What's in there? Convoy, Artisan, standards for white mold control. But we've also got Fontellus, we got Preaxor we'll talk about, we got Elatus. All right, these are combination products. And also Velum Total, a new nematicide. Is it Timic? No, but do I think it will replace Timic? Yes, I do. Okay, we'll talk about that. And it is in the FRAC Group 7. We got the strobilurins, Abound, Headline, Avito, but we've got Stratego, Preaxor, and Elatus, which are combination products. And of course, we've got the triazoles with Provost, Quash, Proline, Alto, and tebuconazole products. So we've got three main classes where we're fighting soil-borne diseases and now nematodes. What are the SDHI fungicides? And I'm going to talk about what SDHI means in a minute, but we've got the Moncut Artisan Convoy products, the flutolinil. What's that been important for? That's been the standard for a long time as far as white mold control goes. Fontellus from DuPont. Been a very strong product. We've used it for several years now. Preaxor was available last year. It's a combination product where you take Headline and mix fluxapyroxad, the SDHI chemistry, with it. It was available last year, but BASF is really going to be transitioning this year. How are you going to use it? Where you used Headline in the past, Preaxor can be used now and probably brings more to the table for you in terms of efficacy and control. Elatus. Azoxystrobin went off patent, but Syngenta comes back this year with a bound combined with solatinol. And again, solatinol is that SDHI chemistry. And I don't think all these companies sat down together and say 2013, 2014, 2015, let's bring SDHI fungicides out. But that's the way it's happened. We have a significant transition to where this SDHI class, which has always been important to you as far as white mold and limb rot control. Now we're bringing new fungicides, and Nematode, fluopyram. Some of the vegetable growers know that as Luna. It is also not a pretend nematicide, not a wannabe nematicide. It also has activity and is a nematicide in addition to a fungicide. Okay? When you think about SDHI fungicides until Fontellus came out, you think about these diseases. You think about the standard for white mold control, you think about strong rhizome control. The issue with SDHIs in the past, especially with flutolenil, has not been its efficacy. It has been a standard. But what the issue has been in some situations has been what's not on there. Okay? The new SDHI chemistries that are coming out, in addition to controlling white mold and limb rot, they will also have activity against the leaf spot diseases, late leaf spot and early leaf spot. And they should have some suppressive activity. And CBR control is a moving target. If you've got it, Proline and Furrow is your magic answer. But these new SDHI fungicides have some limited activity against CBR as well. So with a newer generation, also bring broader spectrum activity. Okay? And what's amazing is that the fluopyram, the Nematode, which is a fungicide in vegetables, actually is a nematicide now that we can use for peanut root knot nematode control. What are SDHI fungicides? The first one that we would have used or would have been used in agriculture would have been the carboxyns. They came out in the 1960s. It's not a new class of fungicide. It's a newer class. It's an exciting class for the growers in this room who grow peanuts, but it's not a new class. Flutolenil was the first one. Flutolenil sold as Moncut was the first one you all dealt with. Then penthylpyrite or Fontellus came out. And now you've got fluxapyroxide, you've got fluopyram, you've got solatinol. A slug of new SDHI chemistries are coming out. How do they work? On the top, that tube you see, that is a cartoon of the body of one of the fungal pathogens that affects your crop. That's a good example of white mold, it's a good example of rhizoctonia, it's a good example of CBR. And if you look to where my red arrow is pointing from those green elliptical structures, those are mitochondria. Mitochondria are nothing more than the power plants in the cell. The mitochondria are what create the energy, create the ATP. ATP is the currency our bodies and the fungal bodies spend to make energy. So what they do is, you can see there's the mitochondria blown up. This is along the membrane. Stay with me. This is simply a blow-up of that mitochondria. And the mitochondria do what? They create the energy and the power that drives that white mold, that drives that limb rot, that drives that leaf spot. It's what drives it to create problems in your field. Strobilurin chemistries. They lock and load into that right there. And the complex 3 strobilurin chemistries lock in that site, and they stop the flow of energy. They plug it up. It doesn't work anymore. Interestingly enough, the SDHI chemistries work hand in hand with that, which what I love about them, the SDHI chemistries block up an earlier progression. They stop the flow of electrons, they stop the flow of energy. So whether you're using a strobilurin, an SDHI, or a combination, what you are doing is you are starving that fungus for energy. Now, I'm never one to pass up the opportunity for an educational moment. All right? Right now we're talking about mitochondria. We're talking about the impact of fungicides on fungal pathogens, but you know what? It affects humans as well. There's a mitochondrial disease out there that most people don't know about. If children, men, women, children, humans are affected not by those fungicides, but their mitochondria are affected, just to put it in perspective, it's like one person says it's trying to run your entire house off a single battery. The same mitochondrial effect that happens in fungi, if you try to plug that system up, can be a serious genetic disease in humans as well. It's a serious issue, but you can see how terrible it is for humans, but how effective it is when we're trying to fight pathogens with it. One of the things I'm most excited about with this SDHI chemistry is resistant management. June 15th, 2014 will be a big day for me because that's the day that azoxystrobin and Abound went off patent. What other chemistries are affected? Your headline, your Avito, and we already have chemistries from Kemerait coming out, and more to follow, Izaka and Equation, which are what? Generic formulations, to some degree, of azoxystrobin. And if we overuse generic formulations, we affect or could affect the resistance management and all the strobilurin chemistries. One of the most important things I see with this renewal of SDHI chemistries, bringing them forth, is that Abound combined with solatinol is now Elatus. Headline combined with fluxapyroxide is now Preaxor. And so we have two modes of action, those chemistries. If we abuse the strobilurins, and I hope we don't, but if we do, at least these chemistries are dual modes of action, and they should help us to maintain efficacy. Okay? Looking at a bit of leaf spot data, this is from Nematicide last year. You can't read it, but smaller bars are better, and everywhere you see a red arrow, it's one of the SDHI chemistries. Our SDHI products that we have out there, whether they're Tank Mix, Convoy, or Artisan, or whether they're the new products like Preaxor, Elatus, they all have very strong leaf spot control. Here's the white mold. Again, a small arrow means less white mold in Nematicide. A small bar. You can see where the SDHI chemistries are. SDHI chemistries are very strong against white mold. And what happened with yield? Okay? What I want to leave you with today from this trial is these products bring efficacy, they bring yield to you. Looking at Cook County, just south of here. And again, where there's a red arrow, this is white mold ratings. You can see that an SDHI combination product brings strong white mold control to the table. Where you look at yields, that red arrow shows you where our SDHI combination products are, and you can see the yield there. Very powerful. Two trials, not the end of the world, not definitive for everything, but simply shows that we can have very good results with them. Nematode management. Can you believe that an SDHI fungicide, it's an interesting story I can tell you later if you're interested. How did Bear Crop Science find out that you can use a fungicide as a nematicide and it actually works? Right now, our extremes are, our best managements with Telone, fumigating with Telone is an outstanding product, and using Tifguard. Tifguard or Telone, one or the other. That's our best management strategies. Okay? We've lost Timic. We've lost enclosure. Right now, until Vellum Total is labeled by Bear Crop Science, hopefully next month, you have Tifguard, a good option, Telone, great option, and you have the biological control from the neem oil. Okay? Vellum Total is a new product coming out from Bear Crop Science, supposed to be labeled next month, and I know that it will be. If the EPA, Gerald, does what it's supposed to do, right? If the EPA does what I know they're going to do, then next month you'll have Vellum Total. If they do what they always do, then it might be March. You never know. Right? But Vellum Total is a combination of fluopyram and SDHI product and imidacloprid. Vellum Total is to be used as an in-furrow nematicide. You'll have to be set up for in-furrow. It's for the management of nematodes and for the management of thrips. Fluopyram for the nematodes, imidacloprid for the thrips. Okay? How does it work? That same complex, complex 2 we talked about, it works on nematodes exactly the same way that classic chemistry works on fungicides. It shuts down the electron transport in the power plant in the cell. Okay? Does it work? I trust Travis Bosky. He's from Arkansas. I trust him, okay? And what you can see on your far right is tomato roots, a similar species of Meloidogyne that you have in your peanut fields where you did not use the fluopyram. And if you look at the 5.2, the 3.9, the 2.6, you can start to see the rate response, but you can absolutely see that the use of fluopyram reduces the damage associated with root dot nematodes. No doubt about it. Okay? Application. To put this out, it's going to be an in-furrow application. Fortunately for peanut growers in this room, you're already used to using liquid inoculants. Vellum Total can be mixed with no problem with an in-furrow fungicide like Proline, no problem with mixing it with your inoculant. You're already set up. Is it any wonder Bayer Crop Science starts with you all first? They expect that A, you need the product on cotton and peanuts, and B, you're willing to go to the effort to put it out. Trials from Tifton. This is gall ratings. The green bars, that's the reduction in nematodes or nematode damage where we use vellum total. The red bar is Timic. It performs especially well. And when we look at yields, no take-home yields there, but what you can see is our best control, our best yields actually were vellum total. The red bar was Timic. Okay? Wrapping it up. We got new products coming out you need to be aware of. And the SDHI class has been a standard for us, and it continues to expand. It's not the same SDHI. We got expanding modes of expanding opportunity for increased spectrum of disease control, and also combination with products. As a class, it will bring significant disease control to our fields, and it will be a significant tool for resistance management. Okay? Last thing in advertising, then I'll sit down. Don't have time, but we have, as of today, we have a new app. It'll be a free, we'll get you information through county agents, where that Peanut RX you've used and are familiar with, it will now be a smartphone app for Droid phones, for iPhones, and in the field you can go ahead, figure out what the risk is, but not only that, you can figure out how to reduce the risk, and even better, this app will tell you, give you the opportunity to call up what the individual company programs are for each situation. With that, I'll stop, and any questions from me?